What's up, scrappy peeps? It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and today I'm scrapbooking the rare sight of a non-baby photo. When I was going through my scrapbook album and I saw this photo, I knew I wanted to save it as a process video to save you from the influx of child-related photos. So this is a picture of my beautiful mum and my nana, who's my mum's mum, and I'm up on the Citrus Twist blog today, and I got tasked with a mixed media challenge. So I am challenging myself to use a giant stencil and the whole stencil. Usually when I use stencils, I like to just do bits and pieces here and there and not the whole image. But I'm going outside my use and trying something a little bit different. So I'm using this big floral stencil. I don't know the brand, sorry. It's in my Brisbane Expo haul over on my Let's Get Inky channel if you want to have a look at what brand it is. And I'm using some Liquitex flexible modelling paste on top of some basil marshmallow cardstock from my stash. And all I did was used a spatula palette knife thingamajiggy to smush the modelling paste through the stencil in just really smooth motions. It's just like buttering a piece of toast, nice and smooth, nice and slow, so you don't get any bumps and lumps and move the stencil accidentally. I'm using my Jane Davenport watercolors, which have been sitting on my desk because I've been using them for my Inkitober challenge over on Patreon, and they were just sitting here, so I thought I'd use them today. I sprayed my cardstock with water first, not too much, but enough to just get a little bit of water on there so that my watercolors kind of bled a little bit and were a bit softer. I'm using my paintbrush to smush the colour around, and then I'm grabbing a paper towel to lift off some of the colour and just make it a little bit lighter and also a little bit less wet because it is quite damp, and the damper that the cardstock is, the more the cardstock will warp. I'm adding some splatters using those watercolour paints and going in a bit of a diagonal pattern as I like to go in. And I'm also just lifting those off a bit because compared to the really soft watercolour in the background, the splatters were quite harsh and very, very dark. And by kind of dabbing them with a paper towel, it just kind of softened them a little bit. So this was actually the first layout that I used the October main kit from Citrus Twist, and the reason why I went with the floral and the pinky purple colours, because it's a black and white photo. I can literally go with any colour scheme that I want, and that's why I like black and white photos when you're doing mixed media. But the reason why I went with it is because before I had even opened up the package to see what was in the kit, I saw this crepe paper that was sitting on top, and I loved it, and it just reminded me of both my mum and my nan, because we do like a good floral. It's a bit hereditary, my obsession with florals, and kind of that vintagey floral as well. Not so much I do like modern kind of bold colours and shapes of florals as well, but I really love that vintagey vibe. So then I decided that I needed a bit of a different colour, and so I matted my photo on the edge of this half wood grain, half cream scallopy paper from Crepe Paper, and I was just checking that the back wasn't something that I desperately loved. Then there was a piece of vintage book paper in the kit this month, and I decided to just use that as a layering piece, and it fitted just around my photo perfectly, so I thought that was very handy, and it was a sign that I should have included. Plus it was a vintage book paper, and it kind of reminded me my nan loves old vintage books, and it felt appropriate to use it on this page. So this layout was from my mum's birthday earlier this year, and seriously, getting these two women in a photo is impossible. They absolutely hate photos of themselves. They rarely take them, even when they're done up and looking gorgeous like they were this day. They are quite stubborn, and Mum, if you're watching this, you know you are. You know you are. I didn't inherit their stubbornness for a bit of a hatred for selfies. I don't mind the odd selfie, and so I try to, at least on birthdays, try to get a photo of them, just to have photos of them. So to all of the ladies and the dudes watching, if you are like this and this is reminding you of yourself, please do take photos of yourself, because you don't want to look back in 5 years time, 10 years time, and not have any documentation of you and the experiences that you've been through. So please take more photos of yourselves. I'm all for trying to motivate people to document themselves and not just others. So here I'm going through the ephemera pack that was in here. I think it's from Pink Fresh, and I saw this little floral and thought that it went quite well with the purpley tone in the middle of that flower. And here I am fighting severely with my glue. I currently have 3 bottles of glue open. Does that surprise anyone who is a regular Inkie Quill watcher? No. I have 3 on the go, and 2 of them are so close to being finished. And I know I should just stick to one and use it up, and that's what I'm trying to do. So you will, I'm sorry, see me fight with this glue a little bit in this video, but I try to make it as pain-free as possible. And I think I may pause part of the video and do some gluing off camera. I wanted to try and use up as many purpley bits as I could, just because it's not, I've talked about before, it's the Voldemort of the scrapbooking world. It's the colour we just don't speak about. We don't talk about purple. It doesn't get seen or used as much as its its partners blue and pink. It's the shade that we just don't talk about. And it's nice to see scrapbooking companies lately embracing purple a little bit more, and it's been appearing a lot, I'd say, this year in particular. I know that Heidi Swap, it wasn't super purpley, but it was quite purpley. It was like a fuchsia pinky purple that she had in her, I think it's her latest collection that I've seen in stores here in Oz. But it's good to see it creeping in. It's fighting its way back. So then I was going through these chunky wood veneers, and I didn't feel like any of them, they were quite bold in colour, and this layout was very soft, and so I thought it was best to leave those for another project and stick to some of these stickers that have a watercolour feel themselves. I did use some of those lovely little inflated hearts from Amy Tan's new collection, and I really enjoy them. They are a little tricky to stick on top of modelling paste, but then again, most things are, which is why I definitely suggest using wet glue if you are sticking things on top of chunky modelling paste, because you might find that double-sided tape pings off everything on your page. So I went back and I actually stapled those little hearts down just to give them a bit of extra, what's the word I'm looking for? Extra security, so that they weren't going to fall off before I even put the layout in the album. I love the alphas included in this month's kit, and I did a bit of a sneaky, and I wanted to call this layout My Favourite Ladies, because they are my favourite ladies. And instead of using up all of those precious letters for the word favourite, I decided to handwrite it because it was a long word, and just use my and ladies for the alphabet stickers. Does anyone else like to cheat and sneak the system like that, so you can hoard certain things or do sneaky little things to save things to use later? I of course do that with a lot of the time when I'm using 12 by 12 pattern papers. If back in my previous videos a few years ago when I used to do 12 by 12 layouts, I would often mat the outside of my white cardstock with a piece of 12 by 12 paper, but I would cut out the center so that I could use it for later. Let me know in the comments section, what is your sneaky, crafty hack that you like to do? I like to avoid using alphabets that are my favorite for long words or words that have a lot of popular letters in them. Like favorite has quite a few vowels in it, all the vowels actually. And I like to cheat at cutting my paper. I actually did that with the book page earlier. I cut the center out so that I could use it for another page. Not that I don't have enough papers already to do layering with, but it's the fact that you have it for a future project. I did my journaling. I knew I had to do my journaling on something else because the background was so bumpy and textured, it just wasn't going to fit in the space that I had that was flat. And so I just did that on some white cardstock separately and then cut it into strips. Now I'm just adding some extra glue to that puffy little phrase there because it was starting to fall off, and I'm also going back and adding a little bit of extra glue to these puffy stickers just because the puffy stickers that were straight onto the cardstock stuck down quite well, but the ones that were on top of the paint didn't so much. So then I kind of felt like my layout needed something else. There was a lot of my cursive font on there, and it just needed some more words that were a bit blocky just to balance it out. So I grabbed the stamp set for this month, as well as this little stamp set for October, and I'm just going through and figuring out if there's any phrases that suit the occasion, because you don't have to necessarily use themed products for themed layouts. So this is taken from a birthday, but it's not strictly a birthday themed scrapbook page, and that's okay. You can do themed ones, you can do non-themed ones. There's no rules in your own scrapbooking. This page will time for Heidi Shine. Shake, 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 shake your Heidi Shine, shake your Heidi Shine. This page will be opposite a page in my project life anyway, so I will get a chance to do some more journaling and actually write that it was her birthday on that page. I just realized I have a heat pack on my neck right now, and I was kind of snuggling into it because it's nice and hot on my sore neck, and I really hope that hasn't made some crunching sounds during the video, so I apologize if there's been little crunchy sounds in the background. That sounds like a bit of a rap song. It's appropriate time to finish on that note. I added some Heidi Shine splatters here and there, and this page is done. And I love the way it looks. My nan and my mum definitely like the colours pink and purple and flowers, and it envelopes them in exactly their style. I really think that it just suits them. Thanks so much for joining in today, peeps. If you'd like some close-up photos, you can go over to the Citrus Twist blog, and I'll be with you next week with another video. Bye!